Welcome back to Spring Into Math Day. Today's lesson is lesson 1 inside chapter 13. We're going to continue to explore geometry. Today's lesson is parallel lines and transversals. When lines run next to each other or cross each other, their angles are formed. Let's review some key vocabulary terms in this lesson. Here is an image of two parallel lines. Lines in the same place that do not intersect. So parallel lines are lines that can be drawn that go on forever and ever, but they never cross each other. So line AB, which sits on top of line CD, these two are parallel. If we were to continue to draw the line to make it larger and larger per se, they would still not cross. So remember that parallel lines do not cross. Let's talk about perpendicular lines for a moment. Lines that intersect in a specific way are called perpendicular lines. In this particular case, perpendicular means that when two lines intersect, they form what we call a right angle. Now you can see here on the screen, we have it nicely labeled for you, perpendicular, and it even shows you that that angle of that new intersection is 90 degrees, or a right angle. It's represented by that small square in the corner of the image. So perpendicular lines form a 90-degree angle every single time. All right, a big one, transversal, a line that intersects two or more lines. You can see here we have two lines running horizontally and then one that cuts through the two different lines at an angle. Now, it says if it intersects two or more lines, so we could have 3 lines or 10 lines. It just depends on the particular image. Now, when we have a transversal, when it intersects 2 or more lines, we create at least 8 different angles. Congruent angles. Angles that are the same degree or same measurement. Now in our image here we have a transversal because we have 2 lines that are being cut through with another line. And we can say that angle A and angle B are congruent angles. Same measurement. So if angle A is 70 degrees, angle B is also 70 degrees because they are congruent. Well, congruent angles a little bit more. When a transversal intersects a parallel line, corresponding angles are congruent. Corresponding angles lie on the same side as a transversal in a corresponding position. So here we have corresponding angles in more depth. We have it labeled as angles A, B, C, D on the top, and at the bottom we have angles E, F, G, and H. So let's look at what represents a corresponding angle. So we can see that angle A is equal to angle E. So if I know what angle E measurement is, let's say it's 100 degrees, we can say that based on what we know here, that angle E would also be 100 degrees because they are corresponding. So we have A and E are corresponding, C and G are corresponding, and B and F are corresponding here on our image. This is important for us to know. So we're going to look at finding the measurement of an angle. So here are 2 big key terms that you should write down that are going to be very useful for us. A supplementary angle, which are 2 angles whose measures have a sum of 180 degrees. So an easy way to look at that is if we have a 100-degree angle and an 80-degree angle, they add up to 180 exactly. Those are called supplementary angles. Now, complementary angles are a little bit different. There are 2 angles whose measures add up to a sum of 90 degrees. So that would be like 50 degrees and 40 degrees adding up together to make your 90. We're going to use this information to solve some problems. Use the measure to find the angle measure of angle 1 and angle 2. Now here we have a transversal because we have 2 lines being cut through with another line. In red, we have a 110-degree angle. And we're looking to find the measure of angles 1 and 2 based on what we know from our image. Angle 1 and the 110 degree angle are corresponding, and they are congruent. So angle 1 is equal to 110 degrees. Go ahead and draw this image and go ahead and fill in that angle 1 is 110 degrees. Angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. So angle 1 and angle 2 add up to 180 degrees. So I could say that angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180. Well, I already know that one of those angles is 110 degrees. So I had an equation made here for us to help us solve for angle 2. 110 plus angle 2 equals 180. Well, we're going to solve this basic equation by subtracting 110 from both sides. When I do that, I'm left with angle 2 equals 70 degrees. And that's how you solve that particular problem. So, solving corresponding angles. Use the figure to find the measures of the numbered angles. This looks a little overwhelming. They only gave us the measurement of one angle, and that's 75 degrees, and that's listed in red for us. So I suggest you go ahead and draw this image, fill in the 75-degree angle, and as we move on, we'll solve these together. So angle 1 is a vertical angle. So it has meets the other angle, therefore it's also 75 degrees. The 75-degree angle is a supplementary of both angles 2 and 3. So if you look back at the image you've already drawn, you can see that both angles 2 and 3 are supplementary. So 75 plus angle 2 should equal 180 degrees. So go ahead and subtract 75 from both sides, basic equation, and when you subtract 75 from 180, you should get that angle 2 is 105 degrees. This means that both angles 2 and 3 are 105 degrees. So go ahead and fill that information in on the image you have drawn. Now, here's another picture of our image. So we're using corresponding angles. We can say that angles 4 and angle 6 are 75 degrees, and angles 5 and 7 are 105 degrees. So in review, it would be my suggestion that you review all of the vocabulary that was discussed in this lesson at length. The faster we know the vocabulary and understand what it means, the easier it's going to be to solve these types of problems. Good luck solving. Catch you next time.